define success, right? So I just basically started doing smoothies for people, and I'd make you your special smoothie, and make you your special smoothie. You drink it once a day, you drink it twice a day, and you'd be like, okay, I'm feeling good.
Yo, I gotta tell you about this new app that promotes Black group economics. Did you know of the $1.8 trillion that is spent annually by Black communities in North America? Only 2% of this wealth stays within our community. Our money stays in our community for only 6 hours, compared to our Jewish, white, and Asian counterparts at 30 days. Black Network is here to change that. We really need to support this. See you in the Black Network.
Hello, family. Happy Friday. Welcome to another edition of Rooted in Blackness. And here I am, Emma Ansa, along with my esteemed colleague, Lisa Vitello. Today, we're going to be talking about Black women in politics. And we're going to talk about the difference between Canada and the United States. Me being in Canada, Lisa being in the United States. And we're going to use an example of a situation that happened with Selena Caesar Chavan, who was the parliamentary secretary to Justin Trudeau when he was in office. She lasted for 4 years, from 2015 to 2019, and she's now telling her story. And it prompted Lisa and I to talk about it because we were like, well, wait now. So in Canada, you have very, very few Black people in politics. And in this case, Selena was the first and only Black woman underneath that administration at the time. And she experienced a lot of tokenism, anti-Black racism, sexism, you name it. She went through it. So she's going to share her story. So I'm first going to play the interview that she had with Jordan Peterson, who also is not a big fan of Justin Trudeau. And she explains a little bit of what she went through. So we'll play a few clips of that. And then I will play the interview that I actually had with her, kind of asking the same kind of questions. But without further ado, let's just listen to some of the interviews she had with Jordan Peterson. So we'll start with this one.
So 2016, I came to him and I said, at the time, the United Nations had declared the International Decade of People of African Descent between 2014 and 2024. We were 2 years in. I brought that to the Prime Minister. I said, look, we should probably recognize this. The UN has brought it forward. I think it would be a good idea. He said to me, Selena, what do you want to do? I said, that's not up to me to decide what I should do for all Canadians of African descent. That's unfair. We should, actually do this properly, understand some of the concerns, understand some of the issues that they're having, and then, actually recognize this international decade in a way that makes sense and the way that is actually genuine to our mission and mandate as a government. And so that meeting ended. And I didn't hear anything for a year. And then on January 31st of 2018, I was invited to the foyer of the House of Commons. And again, paraded in front. Selena, you have to be there on this day. And I'm saying, like, what's going on? And he comes out and I hear that we're announcing the international recognition, Canada's recognition of the International Decade of People of African Descent. And my heart breaks because I realized, then I start doing my homework and I realized that over the last year, there have been dozens of meetings about this issue that I have been purposely not invited to. I'm not allowed to speak to media. I'm not allowed to speak in the House. I'm not being sent anywhere. What does that do to the mind of a person when they know that the only thing that they're there for is like, oh my God, look at this, I'm Black. And oh my God, look at these, I'm a woman.
So that's the first clip. And so that would have been in 2015 when she was just starting and had, her conversation with him. And it sounds to me like already she was feeling like, you know what? I'm already starting to feel like this is where we're going.
I feel like as a brilliant Black woman,
yeah,
how could she not know what she was there for?
parliamentary secretary assists cabinet ministers as well. So the fact that she was brought into this position and she saw Trudeau like a handful of times in the entire tenure, never really saw him, met with him. They would have all these meetings. And then if it was something concerning Black people, then they would say, Selena, you got to go to this thing. And that's the only time she was reached out to, asked to do anything. She went to the Obama situation. She went to meet the president of Ghana. Like anything regarding Black people, then they would tout her out. And that's how she felt. Like, you would not have even a meeting with me.
I'm looking at it in two ways. Number one, if she only met him a handful of times, I feel like that's not normal.
At all.
As someone who should be accompanying him and not going places in his stead, that's not typical. So that's an atypical behavior. That I do not dispute that. However, for argument's sake, I will say, if he had sent a white man to meet the Obamas, to meet the president of Ghana, I feel like the Black population of Canada would have been up in arms, wondering why she was not sent.
For sure.
She very well have felt the same way. So in that regard, I think she was the appropriate person to send. And yes, it's tokenism, but who better? Who better?
Yeah. And I don't really think that she's offended by it. I think maybe she expected more to her position than just that.
Agreed.
Because of her credentials, right? And also knowing what a parliamentary secretary does. So who wants to go and just sit until it's time to go do something related to Black people? Of course, I would expect only her, for sure. And I'm sure she would expect that. But I think she expected more. And she herself is even saying, I know I probably shouldn't have been this naive. I'm paraphrasing.
Yes.
I'm paraphrasing, but like even she herself is like, why didn't I know better? You know?
Yeah.
But I think she thought, you know what? I'm a Republican. I'm, all of those things. So, sorry. Liberal. My bad. I'm so sorry, Selena.
Pause.
I do think that she was maybe hopeful that things would be different and that he really had good intentions, because there was also an Indigenous woman that was also in office at that time. She ended up quitting, and then Selena quit, and we'll hear what she says his reaction was when she said she was quitting.
I told him that I was leaving in early March of 2019. I was very clear for all of the reasons that we discussed before, feeling tokenized, not getting the support of the prime minister, just being very much marginalized. I said, Justin, perhaps if not today or tomorrow or at some point in the future, you'll understand the level of sacrifice that I've made to be in this role. And then he was not happy with that. He said, oh my God, Selena, I can't believe that you're talking about my privilege. I was like, what? He went on and how I needed to appreciate him because he came to the riding during the by-election, and how I should be, grateful to him. And I just was like, oh, hell no. And I said a few choice words to him after that, because I lost it at that point. He's able to get away with those kinds of things. And I wanted to make him darn sure that he was not going to get away with it with me. So I told him, absolutely not. You are never going to speak to me like that again.
I don't know why she was surprised, as I've mentioned.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, I don't know why we are surprised, because this is the same man who wore blackface to a party. So, and I know he tried to make excuses for it. He's not 70 years old.
No, and he was in college and he was trying to say, I was in university, it was for Halloween, but it was more than once. It was more than once. It was Halloween, I was dressed as Aladdin, then it was a party, a Halloween party in college. Your daddy was the prime minister. Come on.
You grew up in this.
Yeah, you know what it is. You know what it is.
I think that one thing we have as Black people that the dominant culture does not have, those that are unmelanated, is we have empathy. We are
Yes.
putting ourselves in other people's shoes because we're so used to being othered.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're a white man, you grew up with wealth and privilege, it doesn't occur to you that you wearing blackface is offensive. Because in your circle, who are you offending?
Exactly.
That's not part of your world purview because it doesn't have to be. Unfortunately, it doesn't have to be. Whereas for us, who are constantly othered and marginalized, we're looking into the dominant culture, and that's the baseline. We have to adapt to that. It doesn't happen the other way around, which is very interesting as we move more and more towards a more racially diverse world.
Yeah.
That the quote unquote dominant culture is really not so dominant anymore.
And they know this. Trust me, they know this. That's why they're crashing out everywhere.
They're crashing out, and as they're dying off.
Right. And their birth rates are also dying off. There's a huge decline. Okay. And you know why? Because there's a lot of swirling going on.
Well, that's what I'm saying. By 2050, the global population will look like me. And look like me, I mean being mixed race.
Yes. Yes, totally.
Of the global population will be in 2050.
Get over it. Sorry, not sorry.
Years away.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
Not sorry. No. I mean, shoot, it's about time.
The other thing I want to comment on is the trope of the angry Black woman.
Mm-hmm.
I fear, and in my gut, I was just feeling sick to my stomach as she was speaking because I felt like, oh, I bet that's what people were saying. Just angry Black woman. Just an angry Black woman, and just being dismissive of her feelings and what she has shared about her experiences.
And that's the thing too, because he will say to her, well, you're a strong woman. I figured you could handle it. So if she handled it the way that she might have handled it with him, then she would have been called that. But you told me to handle it. So I handled it the way I felt I should handle it and defend myself, since you're not, but then it's like you can't win for losing. You literally can't.
You cannot.
You defend yourself, you're the angry Black woman. But if Chrystia Freeland was to act the same way, or Michelle Rempel Gardner, who always does as well, another non-melanated, it's not the same. It's not the same. Mm-hmm. So that's the reality of Black people, though. I mean, I can raise my voice and you can raise your voice, and they'll be like, oh, you see, these two Black women, they're always yelling and screaming. They're always, it's like Real Housewives of Atlanta. It's just like, I have to say Atlanta because So let's watch what happens when I asked her the question, because I really wanted to know. Like, I wanted the tea, okay? How did you manage, because I know you went through anti-Black racism when you were working with the liberal government under Trudeau. How did you navigate that? And why ultimately did you end up leaving? Was it linked to that?
This is my PhD research right now. Like, honestly, I study why Black women leave corporate and go into entrepreneurship. Like, this is the neuroscience of that. Now, when I was in there, the only thing that I kept saying to myself is, this thing is killing me. Something is killing me. I need to leave here. I didn't know what it was. I just felt it. Probably I was feeling that thing, that constant drip of cortisol that just says, something not right. It's not right. I don't know what it is, but it was definitely killing me. And so I knew I had to leave. That was the easy part. Figuring out what was going on is what I'm doing right now. It's understanding that toxicity. It's understanding by living by the identity of a socially constructed framework that does not apply to me. It is a capitalist framework. It's a colonialist framework that was used for economic gain of my body. Why would I ever associate myself with that? It's not that I'm saying I'm not associating myself with blackness or with my gender, but it's not who I am. And so understanding that I let somebody talk about my blackness and trip me up on a I'm crazy. I let somebody talk about my gender and trip me up. That's shame on me. And so leaving was easy. Understanding what happened to me while I was in there was the part that I really needed to like interrogate and know so that I can't do it again.
But in the moment, like when it was happening, microaggression or, covert or overt, macro, in that moment, how did you handle that?
Sometimes I didn't. Sometimes I just let it.
That's interesting.
Yeah, sometimes I just had to let it. What am I going to do? I'm surrounded by like 50 white guys and I'm supposed to do what? Bust out? No, you just have to just quiet. You just have to just say nothing. Right? Like I at one point I just was like, I know these meetings can't happen without me. So go on with your ignorance. Like I can't. I have to reserve my energy at some point.
Did you find that difficult to do?
Of course. The more you swallow that, where does it go? It stays here. The energy is not moving. It will consume you. It will eat you. That was probably the thing that I thought was killing me. Is because every time I was sent to like another black event, I was like, what am I doing here? Like, I actually am a neuroscientist. Why are you not using me for my brain? Why are you using me for my teeth and my skin? Like, I don't understand. And I couldn't get it. I couldn't understand it. And even though I knew what it was like, this can't be happening to me. I was like in a alternate, so I actually felt myself separating from myself. And that was
That's got to be the worst
horror.
feeling.
It was horror. Myself was removing itself from itself and then not recognizing the self that it was anymore. When I actually did tell off the prime minister, that was not me. That wasn't this version of me. That was little Selena that came out
Triggered?
and said enough of this bull. I remember standing like up at the stairs going, who is talking to the prime minister like this? Because it can't be me. And in my head, I kept going, don't call him by his name. Just call him bitch, call him mother.
Did you do that?
Yes! Yes!
What I found interesting about what she was saying when I asked her how she navigated those spaces when she was dealing with working under Trudeau and dealing with sexism and tokenism and all of that stuff. What was really interesting to me is when she said, sometimes I didn't deal.
Yes. Yes.
I literally just, what am I going to do? It was when she said, what am I going to do? You're surrounded by these white men. Well, sometimes you just have to not. And I was like, wow. When she said, I said to myself, what must that be like?
Well, can you imagine the toll it takes on your body to be
Yes.
but being hyper vigilant in spaces where you should feel welcomed?
Yeah. Yeah. And so, what she was saying, like what you said also in those spaces. So when I asked her, and I framed it as a journalist, how do you navigate these spaces that are not designed for us, meant for us? As a Black woman and journalist reporting on anti Black racism, discrimination, and social injustice, and navigating political power structures that were never built with us in mind, how can I maintain my authenticity while still strategically commanding influence in rooms that often resist my voice?
I'm going to ask a question. So I think you recorded all of that previous one about the way our systems are built, right? So they're navigating those spaces. You need to be intentional about how you navigate those spaces. I'm going to look in your camera. You have to be intentional about how you navigate those spaces. Navigating those spaces with intention means that you know that a space that was built as a prison, Michel Foucault's book, Birth of the Prison. If you know it's built as a prison, you don't walk through it expecting liberation. That's number one. But number two, I think what most of us need to understand is when we stand in our own spaces, how often do we do this? We stand in our own space in front of our own mirror and we are completely naked.
Right.
And we say to ourselves, I love this. We expect to walk into spaces and have everybody else have confidence in us. But when we are in our own space, our own skin, do we have the confidence in ourselves? To say we have the right to be here. We are divine to be here. We are powerful beyond measure. That is actually our greatest fear.
And so it's on us to do that.
It's on us, but it's not like I don't want it to come off as, I don't know how structures operate. It's on us to do that, but understanding how structures operate and then going into those structures and saying, I'm going to be intentional about whether I need to code switch today because I want to protect myself. I don't want to have to deal with Jim at work today and all that. So I'm going to do the things that I need to do to protect myself. But that is an intentional move. So
Right.
how you act intentionally within a space creates that awareness to know I'm not going to allow this space to harm me. I'm going to create an intention by which I could walk into a space in my own confidence, in my own way, and navigate that the way that I want to navigate it.
So this is how I move, especially as a journalist. You got to have the skin of an alligator, right? Because you're going into these spaces. My other question, and then I will zip it, is if I'm in that space, here's a scenario. I'm in that space and I know that I'm being met with opposition, okay? Because I have no business in that space. According to them, I know I belong there.
Yeah.
Now I am now getting that energy and I'm matching that energy to say, well, you're not going to treat me this way. So we know what happens in that case. It's like, here comes the angry Black woman and, you're attacking me and you're bullying me and all of those talking points. So in a case like that, how would you advise somebody to manage that?
So first of all, we don't need to have the skin of an alligator. I'm in my soft girl life. I'm going to make sure that I have my skin soft. You see, bones alligators. You must be mad. I know. I understand what you mean. I understand what you mean. But we don't need that. And so let me just tell you what's happening cognitively. Cognitively, there's three parts of our brain. The first part is the first part is the salience network. The salience network, right now, you're picking up millions of bits of information through all of your senses. Millions. Your salience network, though, picks up 50 to 120. Why? Because you have certain biases. So you're picking up 50 to 120, and somebody else is picking up their 50 to 120. They're either opportunities that they're picking up or they're picking up threats. If you walk into a space and Jim thinks you're a threat and you think Jim's a threat, the only thing that you're sensing out of those millions of things that I could see about you, I'm seeing 50 to 120 that are threatening. Miss me, Jim. Miss me. You miss all the other parts of me that I know are good. My soft skin, all you see is alligator. I don't care about Jim, okay? So what ends up happening is now I walk into a space and my salience network picks up the threat. This is actually what happens. And it could go one of two ways. It could go in the blue, and let's say the salience is the yellow zone, right? It could either go to the blue zone, which is your central executive network. The central executive network is where you think, you have your executive function, you're planning, you're doing all the decision making, those kind of really strategic stuff. Blue zone, strategy. Or you could go into the red zone, which is the storyteller, your default mode network, where you start telling a story. Oh my God, I didn't know Jim was going to be here. Remember the last time Jim was here? He really made me feel badly. Oh my God, I can't believe Jim's here. Blah, blah, blah. And you start going into this story mode. This is often where we go when we walk into a space with threat. So now you're matching Jim with you. You're both red zoning together, right? You don't want that. What you need to do is say, oh, wait, hold on a second now. Now I know I need to be here. No, I know I'm good enough to be here. And you need to get yourself back into that blue zone, back into the strategic mode, back into the mode of yourself where you're using your central executive network and you're saying to yourself, you know what? Bun Jim.
Yeah,
No. Sit. No, hold on. Let me finish. Bun Jim. Bun Jim. Because Jim don't got what I got. Jim don't got, you don't have to match his energy. You have to bring your own energy.
right. So
Okay?
my thing is, the way I like to do it is strategically and surgically. That's kind of how I go in. So if that energy is coming my way, my response is going to be surgically.
It has to be.
So I'm coming with academics. I'm coming with facts.
Bring the
I'm coming with
receipts. Bring the
I'm coming with
receipts.
all of that.
Bring the receipts.
Because we as Black
And
people have to.
you need to be in the blue zone to be able to come with the receipts.
Yeah.
Right? Because I've often walked into spaces where I'm met with that threat, and then all of a sudden I'm like, what? I'm talking like I have peanut butter in my mouth, and that's called a stereotype threat. Right? So you walk in, you say that, and then you leave the space and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I said that. Oh, why did I say that? I said the wrong thing. I wasn't thinking. Yes, you were not thinking. You were in the red zone. You were in the default mode network and you were telling yourself a story instead of switching into the blue zone and being strategic and owning your space when you are there. That is what we need to do. And there's 3 ways to do that. Have you watched Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Yes.
Right? What are the 3 ways when somebody's in trouble and they're feeling threatened and they're panicking because they don't know the answer? What do? What's the first one? Phone a friend. Okay? So you have your red zone friend in your phone. Your red zone friend is the person that's going to say, when you walk into a space, like I was at the Alberta Agricultural Society the other day doing a talk, 3 talks, keynote, workshop, and a final talk. Alberta Agricultural Society is a bunch of red roughnecks. There is not a melanin drop in the whole damn room. Okay, I get in there, I start to cry. I don't know why I'm doing here. I don't know what my agent sent me here. Oh my God, I can't believe this. They don't want to hear nothing about neuroscience, right? So what do? I phone a friend. I phone my red zone friend. My red zone friend says, "Girl, what are you talking about? Girl, you're the best thing since sliced bread. Oh my God, come on, man. You know this stuff. Do you work hard? Yes. Do you love your community? Yes. Do you roll your sleeves up and get dirty? Yes. And those are your people. That Alberta Agricultural Society, those are your people. They may not look like you, but them your people. You worked just as hard as they are. Now go in there and give your speech and don't F it up. That's your red zone friend, right? Then what's the other thing? 50-50. Either you can do it or you can't do it. Both of those are right. You pick one. Pick one. 50-50. Both of them are right. You pick whether you can do it or you can't do it. But some of us can't get out of that red zone enough. So we have to call a friend. Or the last one is call the audience. You must have a sisterhood group. Put it in the group chat.
Yeah.
Shit, I'm flaking out. I'm flaking out at the Alberta Agricultural Society. Help me.
Yeah.
Your audience. And this is what the collective does. This is what neuroplasticity is. Neuroplasticity isn't saying I'm just going to change myself overnight. Neuroplasticity is putting the strategies in intentionally to change your habits so that you're not flaking out every time that you're supposed to do something, but now you have a strategy towards doing something better next time. We good?
Is that how you handled it in politics?
No, I had to do this PhD because I kept looking back at politics and going, what was wrong with me? As badass as people thought I was, if I was this version of me,
how would you have handled Trudeau? How would you have handled Trudeau?
I mean, I'm pretty sure I would have handled him the same way because me and him the size. But I would have been a little bit more strategic about some of my moves, right? I was really in the red zone a lot, and I really wanted to understand my brain. That is why I'm doing this PhD. I wanted to understand what my brain was like in that space and what was wrong with me. What I found out was I'm fine. I'm perfect. But you have to know how to be a little bit more strategic. And the strategy is really understanding that cognitive awareness that allows you to make those decisions, especially when you're feeling like you're being challenged by norms. You're feeling like you don't belong in a space. You're feeling like this thing isn't for you. Yes, it is. It already was.
Thank you, Selena.
Thank you.
I love that she said, well, who says it's not? Like, why do you think that it's not? You got to come in with that confidence saying, I belong here. And so I challenge that a little bit because, yeah, in theory you can, but we can't discount the fact that maybe it is meant for us, but that's not how it's perceived, and that's not how that's not how one feels sometimes when we go into these spaces. And I know for me as a Black woman, I always know, because growing up here, even though it's more covert than it is in the United States, you know,
Definitely.
because I've experienced both. So I can smell it a mile away. So we know. And yes, we can say in theory, we belong here, et cetera, et cetera. My question to her was, how do you manage it? Because even though we may come in with that mindset and that thought process and stuff, when you're faced with it, then you got to, how you react is how you react. So that's when she started talking about red zones and blue zones and the differences between the two. The red zone is always the defensive. I'm coming back at you. I'm matching your energy. Where the blue zone is where you take a couple of minutes to think about it and kind of like navigate it differently.
Why do we, again, as women and as Black people, have to be so cognizant of this as we're interacting with others? That is such a burden. And
It's a burden. And it's like we're always perceived to be, you're attacking me.
I'm not here for it.
Me neither. You can call it whatever you want to call it. I'm going to address you. Period. That's it. And, it's interesting because a Black person can get drunk and be belligerent and loud and they're scary. But one of the folks can get drunk and belligerent and loud and they're just drunk. They're a happy drunk. They just, let them go sleep it off. But us, I'm scared. You're attacking me. They use these talking points,
Trigger words.
Yeah. Why are you attacking me? I find that very frightening. It's these words, right? But I always say this, until you've lived in this skin, you can't tell me how I should react to certain things.
Agreed.
That are being done. You don't get to say that. You just don't. So
even if you've lived in the skin of Blackness, even so, you don't get to tell me.
You still don't get to. But you especially don't get to.
I am unique. My experiences are different. My life experiences, where I'm coming from, what happened to me earlier on today. All of those things factor in to how I will react in a situation.
Yes.
And sometimes I really don't want to pause and think and count to 10. I don't want to.
No. I don't want to either. I don't want to take those couple of minutes because you didn't when you came at me sideways. Wow. So why do I have to take, why? I don't need 2 minutes. I'm going to address it in less than 2 minutes. You get a few choice words and that's shutting it down, and that's that. So, I feel for her, but I'm glad that she got out, because when she says things like, this thing is killing me, and I felt like my body was separating from itself.
Yes.
That says a lot, like you said earlier, to your point of the emotional and physical toll that will take on you. And it doesn't matter how strong you are.
No.
It doesn't matter how strong you are. If you're constantly in this kind of space and environment, there's nothing worse than getting up every day and saying, what am I going to face today as a Black woman? What am I going to go through today? Who's going to say something to offend me? And not feeling like you have anybody in your corner. It's the worst feeling.
And again, not a rhetorical question. These are valid questions that we as Black women have to address every day of our lives in some form or fashion. At what point is it enough?
At what point is it enough? At what point is it okay to not be okay? At what point do we throw in the towel? There's a lot of people here in Canada, and I'll just say Ontario, just because that's where I am, that have talked about going through this kind of stuff in the workplace, and they go through all the processes. You contact HR, and at the end of the day, you still don't feel heard. You still don't feel seen. You still don't feel like anything's been addressed. That's why the public service employees, there's over 45,000 members in a class action lawsuit that have launched a $2.5 billion lawsuit against the federal government for over 50 years of anti-Black racism, okay? And they're still fighting. They still don't feel heard. The federal government has spent over 10 million fighting them back. So that's to tell you the state of Black employees in Canada. So
No matter where on the hierarchy we are.
30 years in the same position with no promotion. And you have trained people that are of other, colors, non-melanated that have come in behind you, and they get promoted. And then all of a sudden you're reporting to that person. Make it make sense. Yeah. And then they say, well, because you have all this attitude. So that attitude they speak of is exactly this example where you are defending yourself, you're fighting back, you're showing, you're assertive. And it's like, no, she's not the right fit. But I'm good enough to train. I'm good enough to stay in this position for 30 years. I'm a good enough employee for that. Do you see the problem here?
You're preaching to the choir. You are preaching to the choir. And on that note, I think we've really uncovered some uncomfortable truths.
Yeah.
About the way women are treated in politics and beyond.
Yeah.
In Canada, we are well aware of the issues that we face in Canada as well as those in the United States. There's no easy answer. There's no quick answer.
No.
As I like to say often enough, if we would just work together as a collective,
yes,
just work together as a collective, we could make some difference in this world.
Unify, calm unity. So I thank you very much for hanging out with us on this Friday, and we appreciate you much. Please, by all means, drop your comments in the chat. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And if you want to hear more conversations like that, tell us what else you want to hear. Tell us what else you want us to talk about. Any pressing items, rooted in Blackness, centering the diaspora. That's what this is about.
Everything is through a Black cultural lens up here. So if you can't hang with that,
we can't help you.
Places for you to be.
We will love you and leave you. We will tell you that we will block and bless you too. Okay? You'll be blocked and blessed. We appreciate you much. Thank you again. We shall see you on the next one. Until then, please be safe.